You might have seen the Netflix series Trainwreck. It's all about those moments that grab headlines for all the wrong reasons. The latest episode harkens back to an incident 2009 known as Balloon Boy, infamously known as the Balloon Boy incident, when a young boy was believed to be trapped in a homemade helium balloon floating through the sky.
You were in news at that time.
Yes, I was.
Was it full? Was it wall-to-wall coverage?
I don't remember if it was wall-to-wall, but it for sure made it.
Yeah.
It was A block.
Yeah, it was A block.
A block meaning
the very first thing in the show.
Before the first commercial break.
I'm never in A block.
Only when something really good or really bad happens.
If you see me in A block, something terrible happened in the world of entertainment.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Now, Gillian Pachter, the director behind Trainwreck's latest episode, is here with us live to unpack
we are so
what really
excited
happened.
to talk
this
to
is
you.
Great. Gillian, nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. Where are you joining us from, out of curiosity?
London.
Oh, wow. I've heard of it.
I've heard of it, too.
Wow.
So it must be, what 4 in the afternoon?
Yeah, let's say, was it a 6-hour difference?
What are you, your central time? 6 hours, that's right.
Yes. 6 hours,
yeah.
so it's, okay, 4:30 out there. Thank you, Gillian. All right, so let's start off by kind of unpacking, for those unfamiliar, maybe we have a younger audience joining us right now, unfamiliar with the whole Balloon Boy incident. Can you give us a little refresher on kind of what inspired this topic to be explored on Trainwreck?
Well, it was like Steven Spielberg happening in real life. I mean, it was this crazy event. I remember experiencing it at the time when, you're watching this live stream event of a homemade spaceship cruising across the plains of Colorado, and apparently there's a 6-year-old boy inside. So, we were all just totally gripped. It was the early days of live streaming, so, it was crazy to be watching this in real time. And we were obviously horrified, and you're just thinking, oh my God, I hope this kid, I hope it's a soft landing. I hope this kid doesn't fall out. It was an incredible story.
I was reading here in our notes that it says that part of the reason you've made this documentary is for us to be able to hear all the different sides of the story and to form our own opinions. And forgive me for being ignorant. I didn't realize that this story had a bunch of different sides to it. So can you tell us about just what the different angles of this story are that actually might change whatever preconceived notions we already have?
Yeah, well, it basically, ultimately, it's known now as the Balloon Boy hoax. Not to spoil anything for, people who haven't seen the documentary or don't remember the story, but a crazy thing happened after another crazy thing. It spun a number of times, and then ultimately, it was basically decided by the public and the sheriff that this had all been a hoax, had been a publicity stunt, that this was a fame-hungry family. They'd been on wife swap. They just did this to get attention. But the family themselves have never stopped protesting their innocence. And I basically got in touch with them because they were pardoned by the governor of Colorado back in 2021, January. And I thought, that's interesting, they've been pardoned. And then I gave Richard Heaney, the dad of Balloon Boy, a call. And we started talking, and we kind of struck up a friendship. And I started to wonder whether we really have the whole story. So he's in it, the whole family's in it. Balloon Boy himself, all grown up now, is in it. But the sheriff's in it, the detective's in it, and all of the kind of media folk are in it. So it's a 360 on a just totally crazy event.
Wow. Will you tell us about that process? We go through this sometimes with success and other times with failure as journalists to win the trust of folks that we want to speak with. What was that process like for you and the Heaney family?
Well, they were not friends of the media, when I contacted them. I felt like they'd been, raked through the coals. And, and me and Richard aren't totally similar people, at all, which is another way of saying we're polar opposites. So it was a process, but I think what Richard sensed was that I was genuinely interested. I had respect for him. I thought, this guy is intelligent. He's not the idiot he's been treated as by the media. I'm genuinely interested in his side of things. I'm genuinely open to learning something new. And I think he's no fool. And after a long period of time, he realized I was being serious. And so we went on a journey together. And then teamed up with Netflix and finally got the story out there.
Wow. Gillian, you mentioned getting to speak with the balloon boy himself. I'd love to know, one, how old was he then? How old is he now? But what does he remember about that whole day? I mean, I guess it was all in one day, right? Everything in the aftermath that came.
Yeah, so he was 6 at the time. And he's, when I was interviewing him, he was 21. So, for him, I mean, to him, it's just totally crazy that basically it was a sentence that he said on the Larry King Live that kind of spun this whole story. Flipped it. He basically said he was being asked by his dad, well, why didn't you come out when we called your name? He'd been hiding the whole time the balloon was in the air. And he answered, you guys said we did this for the show. And based on those 10 words, the story flipped. Everyone thought, show? What show? So, and then people started saying it was a hoax. So Falcon, which is the balloon boy's real name, just can't believe that, like, as a 6-year-old, the entire nation took what he was saying as gospel, and that was enough to kind of completely alter the course of history. I mean, he thinks it's crazy, and his memory of the day is absolutely not participating in a hoax. He says he ran away. His dad was yelling at him. He hid. He didn't want to be found. And when he came out and everybody was worried and crying, he was as bemused as anybody.
That is wild.
Does he have does he remember saying that line? Because you're right, I do remember that line now that you mention it. Does he have any memory of why he said that?
Well, it's twofold. One, he says, I was 6, and like I said dumb shit all the time. Oh, I'm sorry for swearing.
Don't worry, we're on digital.
Yeah, you're good.
He has a point. I mean, I have a young son. They say dumb stuff. And then he also remembers being surrounded by reporters right after the event, and they were going like, "Oh, do this for my show," and and the family themselves had been on different shows, so he kind of just feels like he was confusing different events. But he absolutely doesn't think like, "Oh yeah, I spoke the truth, and I finally got that out on Larry King Live, and revealed it was a hoax." I mean, he is actually really bemused that this went in the direction that it did.
I'm fascinated by the whole thing. Let's take a step back and just, okay, so this was turned out to be a hoax. It captured the nation very temporarily. You've done a full kind of multi-angled approach to retelling this whole thing for an audience that a lot of us probably don't remember vividly that day like you do. What are you hoping that the audience takes away from this whole episode? I know that this is the days before. You mentioned it was one of the first times that something was live streamed. Right now things go viral like that across the globe. What are you hoping folks' takeaways are from revisiting this whole thing from 2009?
Well, I think what's really fascinating watching it now is, like, we're very cynical these days. Like, we've got AI, we've got fake news. We don't believe what we see necessarily. And this was a different era before all that, where, we really did take what we saw at face value. Right. So I think as people are looking back on it and wondering, like, okay, I'm listening to people, was it a hoax? Did we get it right? Did we get it wrong? It's a really interesting opportunity to actually realize at the end of the day, like, all you have is your gut. All you have is actually listening to people and their truth and making your own judgment about whether you believe them, because you can't trust media and you can't trust what you see. So I think it's a really kind of interesting cautionary tale, and I think people are going to watch this, and I think people already they disagree about what the truth is. So it's fun to look at it as before the era of fake news, maybe one of the first stories where we started wondering if what we're looking at is the real thing.
Sure.
Yes.
Well, to your point, really quick, Gillian, before we let you go, we all have, to your point, preconceived notions about this story and what we thought was going on behind the scenes. What was the biggest difference between what you thought about this story when you started sort of putting the pieces together versus what you thought about it whenever you were done putting it together?
I felt when I actually talked to this family and I actually listened to them, that it was hard for me to think that what, like, the emotional story that they took me through, that they were actually just making it up. And I struggle to believe that that's all just fake. And these are people I got to know over a few years. And I mean, listen, it's not my first rodeo in terms of interviewing people. I like to think I can judge whether people are lying to me or not. And I gotta say, I just feel like, I feel a lot of heartfelt emotion when they're describing the panic that they can still, remember from that day.
Wow.
So I may be in the minority there, but I encourage people to, tune in and see what they think.
We
Wow.
for sure,
Wow.
for sure will. All right, before we let you go, how do we check out this episode of Trainwreck, Balloon Boy?
You go to Netflix, and it's Trainwreck Balloon Boy, and hopefully hopefully you find it very close to the top of the top 10.
Of the feed.
So.
All right, very, very good. Can't wait to check it out. Gillian, thank you so much for being on Chicago Now. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, I enjoyed myself. Thank you.
All right.